we have to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo because it's news when he gets substituted. I thought it was interesting that he gets substituted by Harry Maguire. Just as it's news that Harry Maguire doesn't start.
Yeah, because he was not fit to start. And Rangnick said he wanted the back five, not to make the same mistakes as he did, obviously.
Okay. I'm glad Rangnick had his reasons, no doubt. But what we saw on the bench, and this is optics, right? This is what takes over the story. I have my own views on this. We saw a hugely animated Cristiano Ronaldo on the sidelines saying, it sounded like he was saying, why me? You can go back five without taking me off, blah, blah, blah. I think the score was 2-0 at the time, if memory serves. Augie, is this a thing with Cristiano where it's just because any other player being animated and unhappy on the sidelines isn't going to get the attention from the manager, isn't going to get the attention from the media? Or is there something to it? Are Cristiano and Rangnick not meshing?
Well, I remember being at a game 10, 12 years ago when Cristiano stormed off and did the same thing with Sir Alex Ferguson. It is in his nature if he doesn't like coming off, ever. But obviously, you're right. When he comes off in a game and he starts throwing his tracksuit top around, it doesn't look good, and it's Ronaldo, so everything's exacerbated. But listen, what I'm hearing is that Cristiano is open-minded, shall we say, about Rangnick, and I don't think he's kind of decided one or the other yet. And I do think that, Rangnick is making decisions that his predecessor wouldn't have done. He's making strong decisions, sometimes decisions that will upset people, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But with Ronaldo, if you make a decision that doesn't impress him, he will not hide his emotions. And I think that happened at Brentford. But you've got to say that Rangnick got it right. And he's not got everything right, but I think he got that one right. And I don't think it's a bad thing that United have got a interim manager, that is now going in there, upsetting people, upsetting a few egos, saying things that other people wouldn't have said. Because, that team, that squad's been in a comfort zone for far too long. It's been too easy, it's been too nice. And they're not used to being told what to do and being asked to do things they don't want to do by a coach. So maybe Rangnick's legacy at the end of this 6 months is that he's the guy that brought a lot of things to a head, so that the next manager that comes in has to do less of this and can get on with the job from day one.
I'm going to throw this out there. At 2-0, the game is still in the balance because you're 2-0, you're away from home, there's a home crowd. Brentford do that weird stuff.
We saw that against Aston Villa.
Yeah.
We're 2-0 up.
But they do the weird stuff with the long throw-in, with the set pieces. There's bad karma from when Cristiano came off against young boys and you saw what happened there. It still takes big cojones to take off Cristiano Ronaldo when you're 2-0 up, especially when you're sending on Harry. No, but honestly, imagine this. Imagine it's 2-0 up. Rashford doesn't score the third goal. They get some weird throw-in, bouncy goal, and then Maguire does something stupid. Maguire who came on for Cristiano, and it's 2-2.
Yeah.
Do you think the knives would be out for Ralf?
Ronaldo didn't play the last two games. He had a niggle or an injury, whatever. No, but what I mean is that Rangnick had a lot of reasons to take him off.
He did. Oh, he absolutely.
So regardless of what happened after.
He absolutely did, but he's still brave. Like, the reality is Rangnick has a contract as manager at the end of the season, right? He can either play it safe and he gets paid, or he can rock the boat. I think this is what Mark was alluding to before. Or he can either say, I'm going to make footballing decisions. I don't care about egos.
I'm not sure this is a footballing decision. The only decision is go to a back five from a back four, which they didn't do at Villa, and it cost them 2 points. That's all. So you think, okay, we're going to bring a defender on. Who do we take off? Who cannot play 90 minutes in that team? Well, Cristiano, because he just got back from injury. We don't want to risk him. We've got another game in 3 days' time. Probably a tougher game against West Ham than this one against Brentford. Let's not be stupid here and silly and keep him for 90 or 95 minutes with the risk of him having a setback. I don't think that's bravery.
Okay, I thought it was. I thought it was brave. But Mark, am I being too kind to Rangnick? Is it just a normal footballing decision that any manager would have made?
It's a decision any good manager would have made, and I think I don't think.
Would the previous United manager have made it?
Well, he made it against young boys, as we know, and it backfired. But I think generally, the previous manager would have avoided those big decisions. That certain players were taken off, certain players were put on. Favouritism was alluded to. I think Rangnick has made some tough calls, and I think taking Ronaldo off is a tough call. I think because he knows what the reaction will be. He knows how Ronaldo will take it, and it just creates a lot of noise, doesn't it? And Ronaldo created a lot of noise last week with an interview that he gave, which addressed a few home truths. So, Ronaldo will always be a lightning rod for this sort of thing. But I think Rangnick did the right thing against Brentford. Like Jules said, he hadn't played for 2 games. He's 37 next month.
I think he's brave. Sorry, okay. I think it's much braver to start Elanga and drop Sancho and Rashford. I think
Sancho
that's
was unavailable.
No, I know, but
Supposedly.
still, yeah. But even the games before, I think this is far braver than just taking Cristiano with 15 minutes to go or whatever it was, because he's just coming back from injury and you want to go to a back five, which, again, I cost you before.
We'll get to Lang in a minute. The Cristiano on the bench, the animated discussion, asking explanations during the game. Again, my take is, obviously no player's happy generally when they're substituted.
Yeah.
It's fine to ask for explanations. This is Cristiano's personality that, he feels that he can ask it during the game. Every team he's been on has generally accepted it and not seen it as disruptive.
Yeah.
Rangnick didn't nerd out with his glasses and say, "No, leave me alone, Cristiano, like I'm focusing on the game," right? That's fine, yeah. This isn't a sign of anything. This is just in the moment. Or is there more?
Unless there's beef already between them two, which is possible. There might be a world where Rangnick would rather not play Cristiano full stop at all than playing him because he doesn't really fit what he wants to do.
I think it's obvious he doesn't fit what he wants to do. I mean, I think anybody who follows his career knows that.
Okay, so this is the question to you and Oggy. If Rangnick could really decide what he wants, would Cristiano start in that team? Be honest.
Okay, I would say, I'll answer and then I'll throw it to you, Oggy. I would say, yes, he would.
But you just said that it doesn't fit what he wants to do.
Hang on. He would, because United, even though they have a lot of money, have finite resources. If you went to Rangnick and say, hey, instead of the whatever it is, 45 million that we're paying him a season plus the transfer fee, you can have that in players and amortization of your choice. You can have a whole gaggle of Nkunkus and Haidaras and sort of players that you like. He'd say, "Oh yeah, I'll take that."
Okay.
But
so he would
now that Cristiano's here, I think he
has to play him.
No, I think
he wants to play him or he has to.
I think he wants to play him because of the players that they have generally. While he doesn't fit his scheme, I think he's accepted he has to be flexible enough because he looks at the other ones, and we'll get to Rashford in a minute. I don't, this isn't the Rashford that we expect. This isn't the Rashford. Rashford's not playing to his wages. Sancho's not playing to his wages. Cavani is older. Martial, let's not even go there. So, of course he's going to play Cristiano.
It's exactly that, Jules. It's right. I mean, it's the cards he's been dealt. He has to deal with what he's got. And I think, in an ideal world, if he could say at the start of the summer, I'll build a squad of players to play in these positions, he wouldn't have Ronaldo in that position and he wouldn't probably play him. But because of what he has, there's no point in me repeating what Gab said, but he's right about every single player in that category that he can't rely on any of his forwards for different reasons. So Ronaldo, he can rely on him more than he can rely on the others, but he can't rely on him 100%. But at least, he's got 8 goals in the Premier League this season. It's not a bad return. It's not great, but he's still delivering more than Cavani, Martial, Rashford, even Greenwood. So he has to play because he's the best of a bunch of bad options, really.
Jules, we touched upon Elanga before. Big call playing him in consecutive games. What I find interesting, and we talked about what he wants to do tactically. Obviously, we've seen them play effectively. It was a 4-2-3-1 last night. Certainly on television, that's what it looked like, right? 4-2-3-1, if Cristiano's playing, means Cristiano at center forward. So we both said earlier, and I stick to this, Cristiano at center forward is not a good idea. It doesn't help. You can't press. He gets kicked. He gets tired. He can't run into, he's much better, much more effective, either playing in a 2 or coming in from a wide position with a real center forward. Does it mean anything that he's willing to sacrifice that? You said it was a brave decision playing Elanga to get Elanga on the pitch.
But you can see why. It's because he's got a lot of energy. I mean, to start with, I think he's typically the kind of player, and not just because he's young, but typically the kind of player that would do anything Rangnick says. If Rangnick says, I want you to man mark the right back the whole game, I think Elanga will do that. He's a bright kid. But certainly is him and Greenwood being wide, and that's why I'm quite worried, I have to say, for Rashford and Sancho here, is because they've got so much energy and so much space that they can easily become the second up front with Cristiano, one after the other. The goal that Elanga scores, I know it's a run from the left inside towards the centre, but it's exactly what done. He's like supporting Cristiano up front.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Greenwood can do exactly the same. So at the beginning they're wide, and they stay wide when you need width in the pitch in the way United play, but one of them becomes Cristiano's partner up front.
You know what that movement was that he made? that movement where he comes in from the side and effectively becomes the other center forward.
Yeah.
It's the movement that Cristiano Ronaldo made
Made so many
throughout
years.
his career
Exactly.
when he was starting out wide.
But I don't think that Sancho and Rashford can do what Elanga and Greenwood did at Brentford in the second half, for example, in support of Cristiano. And the only way that maybe this formation can work with Cristiano is if you use them two on wide or / up front.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.